Well, you talk about, in your book, you talk about Zappos as a company that's got it right on both sides. How do you become a Zappos?
Well, I guess the best way to put this is, first of all, there has to be some way that the culture accepts it. I mean, one way or the other, the culture has to. There's no way for it to succeed without that. But the mitigation for that is you can have an island in the company that understands that the customer controls the conversation, that you can act on behalf of the company with that customer in a way that is, let's call it social. The rest of the company has to be willing to at least let it happen. So, and you see that in a lot of companies. I mean, I can, without mentioning names, I can speak to, let's say, a large number of very large vendors in the software world who don't get the whole picture. But what they do get is, it's good enough to let other parts of the company do it well, right? Let them try. Let them see how it works. To give it a chance. That's all you need to start. You need the rest of the company to be willing to give it a chance on the one hand, but you need a place in the company, and I'll give you a specific example in a second. You need a place in the company where at least the company is willing to actually, a group that really gets it. Now let me give you an example to make it easy. I'm going to give you an example that's kind of negative though. This is, I'll name the names too here. So it's Comcast, right? So, so let me tell you a story. So if you view Comcast, this is always like such a perfect example of tactical success and epic failure. I mean, it's like epic strategic failure. I mean, the word epic really fits here. All right, so here's the way. Here's where that. This is like a perfect example of how to do it wrong, but sort of work. All right, so we have at Comcast Cares. I'm sure we've all heard of that because this is a pretty savvy audience. And you know, Frank Eliason is a great guy. He's now the senior vice president of social media over at Citigroup. Has developed at Comcast Cares. He became a rock star in the industry. This was the Twitter channel that was responding to customers. And you know, they had mixed results, but all in all, the concept itself was revolutionary for the industry, or evolutionary for the industry. Because for the first time, you had a customer care channel that was actually making an effort to solve problems quickly based on almost real-time customer response. So, that's great, right? I mean, cool, works, awesome. However, Brian Roberts, who's the CEO of Comcast, said, oh, you know what, this is great PR. We will continue to fund it. But you realize there is a fundamental flaw in what I just said. Fundamental flaw in what I just said. And the fundamental flaw is, he thinks it's PR. Right? He doesn't think this is a way of actually engaging with your customers and solving their problems in ways that are far more substantially successful than is typical. He thinks this is great PR. So he gives it money. However, the rest of the company still sucks at customer care. So let me give you an example of that. I live in Manassas, Virginia. Okay, Manassas, Virginia is known for two things. Well, three things. But I'll tell you two of them. One of them, well, no, when you hear one of them, you'll be amazed. You'll probably wonder what the hell the other one is. One of them is, for those of you a little older, is John Wayne and Lorena Bobbitt. I won't go into the details. Okay.
Even I know that one, but I can't remember.
There you go. That's one. The other one is a 78-year-old woman who went into a Comcast office. That's exactly right. And smashed every PC in the office saying, now will you listen to me? Right? But that's indicative of Comcast's actual culture of customer care as opposed to this island that they have. Now, here's the other thing if you just want the hard stats. Bruce Temkin, who's a customer experience analyst, does an annual service experience index, and he does 145 companies. And the 144th this year is Comcast. And they would have been 145th if it weren't for the fact that they have a unit that actually is modestly successful. And I can point to details on how they've done other digital aspects like their forums and other things, which they've been relatively successful at. But the point is that all of this, all of these tools we talk about, and all of social CRM, everything that we're always talking about as the coolest things on the planet, ultimately don't matter a bit if you don't have the culture to sustain it, and to sustain it in a way that customers feel is consistent.